Let me just tell you straight up, this is a very heavy-handed subject. However, I think the subject material was done right to an extent. But let's talk about these pros and cons of Eric Larue. Chase Liaki here with the Blue Futon reviewing Eric Larue. So what's about preschool parents Alexander Skarsgård and Judy Greer are parents for a kid who murdered 3 people in a school shooting. And this tells both sides of the story, where the dad, Alexander Skarsgård, is more going this one religious side. Judy Greer is going another religious side, where one religious side is more like the mother's side is more like, hey, the pastor or the priest just wants to get the mothers in a room and discuss. Other church wants to do it, but it's a very different environment where one's more of discussion and one's more of like forgiveness. Jesus wants to take all the sins away from you, and it's very different. It is a 2-hour movie, and I think it is directed well. This is Michael Shannon's first directorial debut, and what he did in the very beginning, he did talk to the audience, basically saying, hey, I wanted this movie to be in the Midwest because he knows for a fact a lot of these indie movies are in California and New York, and they just kind of forget about the Midwest. And he said when he heard Marcus Theaters does that, he got very excited because he wants this movie to go a lot of places. He said like hoity-toity, West Coast and East Coast, which is completely understandable because if you aren't in these big cities, you might not get a lot of these movies, and there are a lot of that issues with like Oscar movies. But anyway, this talks about this. Let's talk about the acting. Fantastic. Alexander Skarsgård does not look anything like he does. Judy Greer is like her first time doing a big role as being a main player, but she also was a main player in the Christmas pageant movie. So I think she did a fantastic job in this movie, and so does Alexander Skarsgård. The side characters. This is where it gets kind of wonky with, I don't know if it's the acting fault or the writing fault, because this is a very simplistic movie where it is a talking movie with Judy Greer talking to coworkers, talking to the mother, talking to the pastors. Same with Alexander Skarsgård talking to HR, his workers, and everything like that. But there's a weird relationship with the HR manager and him, and getting to this church where he is really feeling like Jesus is taking my angst, is taking my sorrow, is taking our son's sorrow, and he wants it for himself. And he is okay with it. The mother isn't. The mother's like, I want this grief. It's a part of me. It's a part of me. And so I do understand both sides of the aisle. And then I do think when the writing is super sharp, it is super sharp when it comes to some of these characters, especially with some of the mothers, because all 3 of them have a very different perspective of what is occurring. You have one that's basically like, my son's in Jesus' hands now. You have one that is basically, I'm going to say naive, but is still kind of in a foggy haze of like, how is everyone doing? Is everyone okay? And she will say stuff like what happened to her son, but then she'll be like, oh, I don't want to think about that. Then one mother is all about the hate of this other Judy Greer's son. And of course, it's like, I want to say it's an anti-bullying thing, but it is basically a movie about parents and what they're actually doing for their kids. Is it good? Is it harm? Do they actually know what their kids are doing at school? So it does have some elements to that as well. And some people might be like, oh, the parents, that's unrealistic. I disagree, because in high school, we had a girl, a senior who just graduated high school. She died in a car wreck on July 4th. And I went to the funeral, the school funeral, and the parents were like, it's okay, she's with God now and things like that. She's better in heaven. And that really rubs me the wrong way, because when my sister passed away too, some people say that, oh, maybe she's in a better place. I call bullshit on all fucking levels, because you might think that's, better place. I'm not saying there's a heaven or hell. You could believe it or not, but I mean, so you're saying, I don't know. It's crazy because when my sister passed away too, she had 2 dogs, and those dogs died like within 2 weeks of my sister passing as well. So it's just a weird, like, gut-wrenching feeling when people say that, and I kind of get angst. And some people might say that's bullshit, but it's actually true. Some people do have these different ways of thinking. I did like that. Where the writing, I thought, faltered heavily is when we try to do this comedic elements with the co-worker, like one of the store managers for Judy Greer's character, as well as the priest that Judy Greer is trying to interact with, getting these mothers involved. He is trying his hardest to mend this relationship, but some relationships will never be mended. And I think that's also the moral of the story, where some people want to get involved to help the community, but sometimes you can't. And I'm surprised Judy Greer and Alexander Skarsgård, if that happened, I would leave. And there's also story elements as well, as like, would you visit your son in jail if he did that horrific act? I did talk to my mom like years ago. She said, if you did anything like that, I would never, ever, ever, ever visit you in jail. And I kind of concur with her. Like, why would you want to visit your son in jail who murdered 3 students? I mean, people say, oh, bullying. Now there's no extent. But in the final scene where they do kind of meet, I was also conflicted with the dialogue of what they were trying to say. Because the son was trying to feel remorse, but the mother was like, no, you shouldn't feel remorse. You did it. You were bullied, blah, 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 blah. And it's now with me. And the son's like, no, you should see what I saw. And she's like, I know what happened. And it's a weird back and forth where I was just like second guessing everything what this movie was trying to say, because she was almost trying to be like, no, what you did was almost justified on it levels, but then it doesn't, and it does, and it doesn't, and it does. Of course, the son is more like, I'm remorseful, I'm remorseful, I'm remorseful. I shouldn't have done that. There's a million better things I could have done, but that was the worst thing I could have done. And she's like, oh, it's a part of you now. It's part of me now. And it was just so weird to hear the dialogue between them two that I was almost like second guessing this whole movie. There's only 2 people in this theater. It was like supposed to go out for more theaters or more times during the showing, but Minecraft took like every other movie showtime, like The Luckiest Guy in America, this, Encampment. Every movie that's like a limited release movie dwindled down to maybe 2 or 3 for that day. And it just sucked because they knew they're going to make a lot more money with Minecraft. And okay, that's what I was getting at. The guy in the theater hated the priest. I mean, every time he was like, he's feminine, he doesn't know what he's saying, which I understand why someone could be mad when watching this movie, but I think the priest is so damn confused. He's never been in this situation before, and he's trying to help, but he's just not the person to help. He is trying his hardest, but there's also, like I said, there's also comedic moments about someone throwing up or something happening in the gun store at this place. It's like, there's these moments where you're just like, this did not need to be in this movie whatsoever. I know you're trying to like get this tension and kind of release it, but it doesn't work whatsoever when you're trying to do it with such a heavy-handed subject. I know Mass is another one that's a heavy-handed subject and things like that, but I haven't seen Mass. I own it, but I still haven't seen it. But Eric Larue, I think it's a good movie. It is very long. It's only 2 hours. It's based off a play, and the same guy that created the play wrote the screenplay. I don't know if it translated as well as they wanted to. There was good elements, great acting, but there's just too many weird scenarios about neck massages and, this off-putting humor that when I was done with the movie, I was second-guessing a lot of things of like, why was it in this movie? Did it need to be in this movie? And I know they wanted to make each character have weird niches, but I just don't think it worked in the overall grand scheme of things. So Eric Larue will receive a 3 out of 5 with Futons, which equals that 60%. So see the critics and user scores gave this one. Critics a 78% with 32 of them. Fewer than 50 for the critics or for the audience score. No critic consensus. I'm curious. It seems like people are giving it C+, 3 out of 5s, 6 out of 10s. So they're with me with the 60%. What is the aggregate actually? I'm curious. All critics. I want to go all critics. How do you do that? Did they get rid of that? Oh, don't tell me the tomato meter got rid. Oh, here we go. A 64% when combining everything with their actual reviews. So there you go. 78-60. Chase Hawk here with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm known as Bluetontopia. You Bluetonians. Thank you for watching. From a great down. Watch the state tomorrow, week from a month, and a year from now. Every single freaking one of you. Peace and love. Peace and love. And yeah, heavy-handed subject. And I think it was done right, but it was the writing that really rubbed me the wrong way on some scenes.